Here's my top 5 picks of the week for the ups and downs of news. And there's, I think, some interesting ones. So here we go. These are by no means meant to be a ranking, just 5 news stories I've tuned into that I found really interesting. The first one was reported yesterday. In this time of recession, Caterpillar's profits jumped 44% in their last quarter, well over $1 billion. This growth has been fed mainly by their international export. They flashed to the next story on the news, which was the earthquake in Turkey, and wouldn't you know it, there was a brand new Caterpillar right in the front of the picture, helping to scoop out a devastated site from the earthquake. Just, I like to say, the ups and downs of recession. The government is helping a number of these countries with these international catastrophes, and it looks like one of the ways they're helping is through the Buy American process, where the help actually means they'll buy a bunch of equipment for that country from companies like Caterpillar and send it off. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I just found it an interesting thing. So there are ups and downs to the recession, and there are ups and downs to government commitment to helping countries. Story number 1. Story number 2. In light of some recent events here involving tragic car crashes and the death of teenagers, they're looking at revamping our drinking and driving laws. Story the other day in the news showed our Premier Alison Redford in a press conference with the BC Premier Christy Clark. BC is reported to have the toughest drinking and driving laws in the country. Alberta's looking at maybe copying theirs. I find this particularly ironic in that when I was living in BC at the time prior to moving back to Alberta. I think part of these stiff drinking driving rules in BC, it's almost ironic when you think that they stemmed from back when the then Premier Gordon Campbell was arrested in Hawaii, in Maui. Arrested and charged with driving a vehicle while under the influence of alcohol. So it might have been bad for him at the time, but it worked out because they now have the toughest drinking and driving laws in the country. Just, thought it was cute. Story number 3, just reported today. The Bank of Canada, Governor Mark Carney has announced that the Bank of Canada will hold the rate of 1% interest as outlook worsens. The economy is not that strong, and so that's one of the things they're going to do to try and stabilize things. A few minutes later, I look at the news, and there's our wonder kid finance minister, Jim Flaherty, again reiterating, that we're not doing too bad in Canada. The rest of the world really sucks, but we're not doing too bad. But Canada's future really depends on how well the rest of the world does. I've never seen a government work so hard to avoid taking responsibility. And when it comes to the economy, these guys were our wonder kid stewards that were going to chart us through all of this water. And yet they can't even be straightforward with Canadians and tell us, look, things aren't good. Don't be running out there and borrowing heavy boats of money, even though the rate is low, because eventually it's going to catch up with you. You can't have one message from one area and another message from another, and that's what we tend to get a lot with this government, is inconsistent messages. But all you got to do is check 2 news stories a day to find out where the differences are. So again, just me. Talk to you later. Item number 4. So much for collaboration and austerity in times of tight fiscal restraint. The feds today finally came out with their announcement to, and something they've been trying to do for years, get rid of the long gun registry, and their announcement today that it will be gone. This is coming amidst a lot of controversy over that bill, plus a huge investment, over $2 billion in the establishment of it. And they're being so vindictive that any provinces that have approached them about wanting to maintain their own long gun registry and would like to get some access to the data that's been collected over the years in that registry. The feds have made it very clear they will not help fund any program that does this. They will not share any information. In fact, they're in a rush to destroy all the information in the long gun registry. You know, now, to me, that's ideology driven, but that's neither here nor there. They want to get rid of it. They've got the power to do it now. But what happened to this collaborative working relationships with individuals in the community and other provinces? They've basically just thumbed their nose at every province out there that wants to continue with this. We've seen enough instances of police showing up at homes for calls for psychiatric purposes. And if they don't know there's a gun there, they're going in there really unarmed. But you know, the fact that some provinces wanted to maintain this, I think that's within the province's right. The fact for the government, for the federal government, just to say we're not sharing anything with you, we're not going to help you at all. I mean, that's ideology. That is not collaborative government between the two levels of government, in my opinion. Anyway, that's number 4 on my news of the week. And now we'll do number 5. Story number 5 is really got to be my favorite. And that, I don't know how many of you have been following this story on Montreal and the inquiry into organized crime in the construction industry and how long it's been going on. Okay, well, if you've been following it, you're aware that Charest called for a public inquiry into organized crime in construction. Interestingly enough, yesterday, I believe, it started. And now I've had some involvement with unions, so I understand what stewards are for. This sounds a little odd when somebody goes from construction site to construction site telling all unionized workers that there's going to be a wildcat strike and they better get out of there because they won't be too impressed with the second set of visitors that may come to see them. You know, it's not exactly the way I've seen unions work, but that's what happened. The labor minister has also had threats to break her legs. You know, these sound like 1930s type tactics, but do we really need a public inquiry now to see if there's organized crime in the construction union movements in Quebec? I think that speaks reasonably well all by itself. And they will maintain this until the government starts threatening unions, or stops threatening unions. The provincial government stops threatening unions. Do you think that's a little odd? Do you think there may be a little indication there that unions are organized differently in Quebec than the rest of Canada? Anyway, that's my five stories of the day. So for the week, have yourself a good week. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.